Hello everyone, Lee here. I just decided to do a little video clip of my trip across the United States on a motorcycle. I did this fall, and there you see me taking off from Boston. I actually lived in Boston for 21 years. I'm originally from Missouri, and I just decided to make a change in my life, and I took a job in Hawaii. And to get there, I decided why not take my time and ride my motorcycle across the country, and I ended up doing the trip and shipped my motorcycle from San Diego to the Big Island of Hawaii, and now here I am with my bike and having a great time over here. But what you're seeing on the screen is just photos I took along the trip. Started, like I said, up in Boston and made my way through New York and down into Pennsylvania, and then here you see I'm starting the Skyline Drive in Virginia, and that was a fantastic ride. 100 miles on the Skyline Drive, and then 400 miles, I believe, on the Blue Ridge Parkway. But anyway, as you watch the photos fly by, I kind of wanted to keep this short, so I set these photos to go on a 2-second interval. And while you watch those, I thought I'd give you some pointers, some tips that I learned along the way that might help you. My first tip is to make sure that you actually do this trip. Set an exact departure date and take time off work. And another thing that you could do is book the first night hotel stay after the first day of riding. Book that a couple months in advance, and that those doing those things are going to make sure the trip actually happens. Um, so many people dream of doing this, but they never make it happen. So that's one thing that I did. I said, I'm going to make it happen. This is when I want to leave. And I actually booked a hotel night in New York a couple months out to make sure that I was going to make it happen. So do that. Set an exact departure date. Take time off work if that's what you need to do. And then start planning. And that makes the trip much more real. It's actually going to happen if you have some skin in the game. You've taken time off work and you've booked a hotel. So that's my tip number one. Tip number two, allocate about a month to do the trip. What I learned is that 200 or 300 miles a day is a good way to do this trip. You don't really want to kill yourself. This is supposed to be fun. You could do 500 miles a day. You could do more than that. I met a guy, Tommy, who was riding all the way to Arizona from Florida, I think it was, and he was just doing that to sell the bike that he was riding and to spend some time with his sister. And he was hauling butt, maybe doing like 600 miles a day. I don't think that's enjoyable. 200 or 300 miles. Um, that's the way to go. And if you think about it, the United States going from coast to coast is just under 3,000 miles, but I put over 4,000 miles on my bike because you're not doing it in a straight line, and you're not doing it on the interstates. So if you do the math, 300 miles a day, that's going to get you to California or the East Coast, whichever way you're going to do it. Excuse me, the West Coast or East Coast, in under 30 days. I did my trip in 19 days actually, and I took my time. Okay, so allocate 200 or 300 miles a day. Number three, don't pre-plan your nightly destinations. I started off planning every night. Actually planned the first 3 nights where I wanted to end up, and then I just threw that out the window because it makes the trip feel like work. You think, okay, I've got to do it this way, or if you, God forbid, if you um, booked hotel nights, then you're kind of stuck trying to make it to your hotel and not lose your reservation. So what I ended up doing is I just I'd get up in the morning. I would think about things the night before, what I wanted to do the next day, and I I would set my sights on going to see whatever it was I wanted to see. If it was uh, uh, doing some kind of museum, or making it like, you're looking right now at a Nashville hostel on the screen. And that morning, I knew I wanted to make it to Nashville, so I I just hit the road, and then maybe around noontime, I started looking on Expedia or Priceline for hotels, and I actually found the Nashville hostel, that Nashville downtown hostel, and that was an awesome find. But I didn't set that plan into motion really until that morning, and that was a great way of going about things the whole trip. Just get up in the morning, figure out what you think you'd like to do that day, and then go about doing it. And by noon, or even like 2 or 3, you can start looking at hotels of places that are maybe 50 miles away, and book a hotel using your smartphone. And there you have it. You have a nice freedom that comes without planning things too far in advance. Okay, so my number 4 tip would be to keep in mind that you don't need a big bike to do a trip like this. I did my trip on, as you can see, a Sportster. It has a 1200 engine. I could definitely use the interstates, but it's a pretty small bike to do a trip like this. It's not a huge touring bike. It doesn't even have luggage racks or anything. As you can see in that picture, all I did was take a skateboard deck, the top of a skateboard, and I cut a little part of it off, tied that on the back of my bike, and put my backpack on there. Everything that I needed was in my backpack, just one backpack for the whole trip. That was awesome. All I had to do was take my backpack into the hotel, and not worry about keeping track of a bunch of things. That's the way I like to roll. Just nice and simple and kind of free. As far as what kind of bike, you can see in the pictures my Sportster seat. That's a stock seat, but I figured out pretty quick that I should probably make the seat a little more comfortable. So what I did was I just opened up the seat and stuffed this big orthopedic pad in there, and pulled the leather back and stapled it back together, and that made a huge difference because it allowed me some comfort. My butt didn't get too sore, and I can move around on that seat. You don't want a seat that's going to lock you into a position. You want to be able to scoot up and down. I'd throw my feet on the back peg sometimes and kind of lay down on the tank, and that was a very comfortable position, a good way to switch things up. But anyway, as far as a bike goes, you want to be comfortable, but you don't have to have something big. It wasn't until recently, I'd say within the last 10 years, that real big bikes became the norm for doing trips like this. I think 750s were pretty common for people to ride across the country or take extended road trips on, and it kind of makes things fun because you can use a 750 on an interstate, but it's much funner to be on a back road on a small bike, and to cross the country, it's much funner to do that on back roads. So that's what I did. I kind of went small and went slow, took back roads, took small roads, and just enjoyed seeing the country. I did get on the interstate sometimes, but um, I tried to avoid them as much as I could. Okay, the next tip I have is to bring rain gear. If you don't bring rain gear, it's going to rain every day. If you do bring it, it won't rain at all. And I was definitely in the latter category. I brought rain gear, and it might have rained on me about 3 times. And I mean, in New York, it rained, and that really sucked. But you just pull over on the side of the road and throw your rain gear on. You can keep going, or find some shelter for a little bit. But you want to have some good rain gear, pants, top, and something for your face. I used a bandana sometimes when it rained because rain hurts if it's hitting you on the face really hard if you don't have a shield. I had goggles and that helped too because I just have a half helmet. So anyway, bring some rain gear. Another thing that you should bring, and this is my next tip, is to bring earplugs. Okay, so you might have a nice fancy full-faced helmet that has some audio capabilities, and that's probably gonna cut down on the wind sound and your engine sound, all that noise. But bring some like soft earplugs. That really helped me. I started off with these earplugs that had little prongs on the end, but the wind was catching them and whistling, and that was no good. So I got the really spongy type earplugs and shoved those down inside my ears, and man, that was awesome. Sometimes I'd ride and listen to music, but a lot of times I was just wearing my earplugs. Okay, another thing I would say about making this trip, another tip would be, a lot of people think that they're gonna be camping along the way. I did not camp. I thought maybe I would. I brought um, I I had kind of a crazy idea that I would use my bike cover as a shield, as a like a lean-to if I wanted to do some camping outside. I've spent some time in the military. I'm actually an Iraq War vet, and being outside, it was one of the best things about the military experience for me. So I don't mind being outside, and I thought maybe I would do this on the trip. But I'm telling you, after a day of riding, it's there's nothing like knowing that you're gonna have a nice, clean, comfortable bed to lay in, and order some takeout, and or go out to eat at some of these nice places and eat in the towns that you end up in. So I'd say you don't have to. I don't know. I don't have much experience. I didn't camp one night when I did this. What I tended to do was look for hostels, or inexpensive hotels or motels. And by inexpensive, I mean between $60 and $100 a night. A hostel, you can stay at a hostel for under, well, now, right as I speak, you see a really nice hotel right before the end of the video. So I did treat myself some. Hey guys, sorry I got cut off there, but like I was saying, I stayed at nice hotels sometimes, but mostly it was hotels that cost between $60 and $100, and I stayed in hostels for under $50 a night too. So that kept me from breaking the bank, and that worked for me. So listen, I'm running out of time. I wanted to give you a couple more tips, like the fact that you don't really need a GPS. I use my smartphone sometimes to look at the maps on there, and I'd make a plan for the day, write it on my wrist, and hit the road. Um, I definitely advise that you keep a photo journal. Maybe Facebook will help you out with that, to share your journey along the way. Another thing I did is I raised money for a charity during my ride, and I raised $1,000 for the Wounded Warriors Project. It was cool. It made me feel like I was doing something more than just entertaining myself and my friends. So GoFundMe.com was website that I used, and it was so simple to do that. So even if you raise a couple $100 on your trip, it's something that's kind of cool. Anyway, hit me up in the comments below if I can be of any help. I'm sure I didn't get to everything, but hit me up, and thanks for watching.